just under 4 pounds. Boy, we ate them on
job, Ranger Matt. Good job, true name.
Good time?
Absolutely.
All right.
I already made the
Just a lot of rocks.
Yeah.
So if you're uncertain with your footing, you may want to consider maybe not doing it. But
Okay. It was worth it.
Absolutely. Not enough time, in fact. Not really.
It's what?
If you're careful about your footing, it's
Sure.
doable. It is.
Okay.
Try and go if you can.
All right. Well, I'm an old mountain goat. How was it?
It was great. It was great.
Wave to the camera. How was it?
But it's just for getting
Good time?
it out. It's better to have it.
Oh, yeah.
waiting on 2 folks. I'm going to give them a minute. I've got 2 more folks.
Channel 2. Let me know if you can hear me. Channel 2.
So we're going to a different place, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah, the tides washed away the other spot.
Oh, really?
There's only a few rocks left on that one to hike.
In other words, we would be swimming.
Yes.
Okay.
hike turned into a swim.
All right.
Unless you want to swim.
Take us wherever you
Just so they're no surprise, swimming suits are plastic, actually.
Yes.
On this hike here.
Yeah.
Ramming speed.
If you look back here, we can another view. Glacier's just behind us. Off to the right.
And if you guys in the boat, if you want to take your life jackets off right now, you're welcome to. And then everyone else, if you want to just get up the shore just a little bit and then do it, you can. If you need a life jacket,
Thank you.
Are ever safe for extreme ice climbers to climb? And I'm going to say yes, but only in certain situations. You only really get the vertical faces of a glacier in tidewater glaciers because they cab off in the water. For valley glaciers, they just kind of peter out on the dry land. But because valley glaciers don't calve, because they don't have the salt water, if you were able to find a flat face on a valley glacier, you could probably climb that safely. For these tidewater glaciers, you could climb this and that could fall off while you're on it. You don't want to deal with that. So.
There's a parking lot there just past the Wi-Fi building, and you just walk down by the beach past this dock and you'll see a sign that says Forest Loop Trail. It'll be on your left. If you continue straight, you'll just end up in a campground. If you take a left, you'll follow the Forest Loop Trail until it hits the road, and then you hit and you'll land right back here. There are also maps of that trail available in the visitor center, and again, that's a mile. You've got time to walk it. Just walk in a group and make lots of noise, because I have seen a black bear right there. I'm not going to be able to talk over it. So thanks, guys. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for putting up with my sarcasm. And we'll have fun in Bartlett Cove. And I hope to see as many of you as possible at the Polar Plunge when we all jump in.
What can I say after 2 days in Glacier Bay, but thank you. Thank you for coming and visiting your national park here in Alaska. Thank you for having us on board to spend this experience with you. And thank you for being so much fun, and for your captain and crew for helping guiding us safely and excitedly through Glacier Bay. We had an excellent 2 days, and I hope we all checked some things off our bucket lists and made memories that'll last a lifetime.
I think that's a good word. We're talking about lesson. I think stunning is a good word too.
Oh my.
Roger, thanks, Chef. When you get a second, if you could come to the wheelhouse, please.
We're about to.
Tsunami.
That's a cool thing.
of these on a surfboard, but with the wetsuit, of course.
Dry suit. 3 wetsuits.
He's gonna wreck.
That was amazing.
Thanks for arranging that.
Yeah, you know,
Get the iceberg roll in there.
I don't mean that it's fun. It must be fun.
Once in a lifetime, guys.
I didn't realize there was so much fun.
Seriously?
I was thinking, will I float?
Our hero. Our hero is right.
Yeah, I can't believe the whole face of it just happened to me. I went to aim and I was like, oh, why can't I see it?
Just watching it roll. That's really cool. It's beautiful.
House mascot. He got kidnapped once, but
Got that one.
Shark.
Speaking of
Where is it?
Yeah, there's a lake.
So, see where there are several
Oh, there's so many lakes.
Yes.
One green street, second green street.
Yeah.
They're all just like this on it. Yucca.
So if you could restart.
All those bears that we have here in Fortress of the Bear were orphaned when they were little. In Alaska, if a mother bear gets killed around the town, leaves little ones behind, the state will send someone out to shoot them. We bring them in, clean them up, work with them, train them when they're happy, healthy, visitor friendly. If we can find a home for them, we send them off to other zoos around the country. Otherwise, they're here with us. Eventually, we hope to start a rehab and release facility in several locations around the state where we can bring next generation orphans to raise remotely with a minimum of human contact until they're big enough, strong enough, fast enough, and smart enough to take care of themselves and start putting them back in the wild where they belong. In the lower 48 states, there are 29 states that do rehab and release. They do it in Canada and in Europe. We have some good friends at the Northern Lights Rescue Society in Smithers that have returned over 400 little bears successfully to the wild. So the science is behind it. It's simply that the state is not yet. But eventually we hope to be a pioneer project for rehab and release in Alaska.
Coming in, and so he might have to find a different spot for you.
Got to do a little swimming now, huh?
Yeah. We just got to the point where, well, we're not going over there. That's.
You came in peace, and so you knew who was coming ashore by the songs that they were singing. For each clan had their own songs that they'd be singing. So they'd sing the songs while they're in the canoe, so that way the people could come out of the longhouses and welcome them ashore. what we refer to as an entrance song. So we'll sing this all the way that we were entering either into a building or an event that we are performing at. And so if you have a very large group, you have to sing until everybody is in on the front stage. So sometimes you can be singing for a long time. And so this is the one that we would use to come into a place. Now this song is a song that our children of the Juneau City Schools composed. And so I'm very proud of them for doing that. For it has been a while since we have created our own new songs. And David Boxley, the dance group of the Get Home, they're a Simshan group. 1 year at Celebration, they challenged everyone to make a new song. For we were singing our songs from the past, which is great. But while they made those songs, they were talking about that point in time. And so we realized that we need to make songs for this time, so that way then we can pass it on to our children about what has been happening now. For we are still alive and our culture is thriving, that we need to make new songs. So it was great that they did that challenge, because then after that more and more people have been making songs of the present time. So it was a good challenge for everyone. So the kids wrote this song, and this is what you would use to enter in a place. And so this is for and from our kids at Juneau City Schools. In that part, that's the only English part, but that's what we're talking about, is the water just outside of here called Icy Straits. We called it our big dish, where you can get lots and lots of food out in the Icy Straits. It's very plentiful, and so that's why we had the name for that. And so this one is called the Icy Straits song, and it is a Duckdainton song. And the Duckdainton they use their crest as the kittiwake. So, some of you guys have seen my great-grandfather. My great-grandfather was of the kittiwake of the Duckdainton. He was the clan leader for that. And then on my grandmother's side, her father was the clan leader of the Wushkiton, the shark clan. So I have a very strong bloodline on both sides of the family. For if you mention one side of your family, you have to mention the other side. Now, when you say Sluka Khadiyatki, that means child of the Sakai people. For we follow our mother's bloodline, that we honor our fathers in our songs, because we already have our mom's crest. That so when you say the Duckdainton Yatki, all the children of the Duckdainton will then stand up and dance in honor of their fathers. So this is why we did that in our songs. And so sometimes you'll see them raising their hands up during that time, or getting down and shaking their tail feather, because they're dancing for their fathers. drum leaders, and sometimes they will do their part and then the rest of the group will follow after. But then you will also have your song callers. So if they're very good, they can call out the verses right before you sing them. So then you, in a way, you already know what to sing because they've said it for you. So this is why they were the song callers. Now, there was also a couple words that they would say. So they would say yada tune, and that means that first verse that I was singing. Now, on the chorus. And so the first verse, when you sing it one time, you'll usually sing it twice. And so the song caller will yell out before the verse is done. They'll say suye, suye, and suye means again. So he's telling you, again, we're going to sing this verse. And then once you're done with that second verse, they will say yada tune, and that means go up to the chorus. And so the song caller helps keep track of what verse you're on or the chorus. Now, there was one time that we were practicing, and the song caller was singing, and we were doing our part, and then all of a sudden, he said yada tune, but to us it sounded like yada tune. So all of us stopped. We looked at the song caller and we're like, what? We're out of tune. He said, no, you're out of tune, not you're out of tune. So we all just started busting up laughing. So I just thought I'd share that little story with you. You're out of tune. So this next one will be an eagle song. For the first one was a raven, and we will always do the balancing of both of them. For this is our way for if you do not have balance, the spirits will not hold hands together and walk through. And so I will do a Wushkitan song, and so this is in honor of my grandfather. And so I'll tell you a story about my drum. So the drum is like the heartbeat of our culture, and same with the frame. We use red cedar. For red cedar is the heartbeat of our people, for we use it for everything. We use it for our homes. We use it to heat our homes. We will use it to prepare our foods in different ways. We can use it for clothing and basketry, food and medicine. So this is why the cedar tree is a heartbeat, and this is why the drum is also the heartbeat. For when you are in your mother's tummy, you always hear heartbeat of. So this is why when you hear the drum, it is like you are hearing the heartbeat. And so this is why we will have our drums made with red cedar. Not only is it nice and light, but it is also the heartbeat of the people. Now, my drum was made in pig, but the design on the drum is by David Boxley. And so my auntie was telling him about my grandfather. And my grandfather took in kids that were not of his own. They were my mom and their cousins, so they were of the same clan. And so we had many kids extra. Now, she was telling him the story of how much my grandfather meant to her and taking care of them and bringing them into his home. And so while she was telling that story, this is what he got out of that. So this represents the shark, the Wushkitan. That represents my grandfather. I am from the frog house, and so this is that white frog crawling out of the ground. And so it represents the shark always watching over the frog house. So that means he is always watching over us. And then because the shark design is an eagle design, in the fin you can also see that there is a raven beak. So that raven beak helps tie me into this design as well. And so I always have my grandfather watching over me with this drum. And so I just wanted to share that little story before we did a Wushkitan song. Now this one they will say child of the Kagwantan, which is the wolf, and then child of the Wushkitan. So those that are a child of those, they would be the ones standing up and dancing and honoring their fathers.
To
making a speech. And so this one has very powerful words for, since we only have 100 fluent speakers, that this is very important words. And it says, our grandparents' language is inside of us. Our language is getting stronger, and may it exist forever. And so this one has really powerful words of wisdom as well. And also it was really great that they were able to take bits and pieces from a couple of elders and create this song.
Sometimes I forget the words.
Now this next song is a song that was given to the Wushkitan for when they were going up into the Aleutian. There was a village that was having a very hard time. They didn't have a lot of food and stuff, so when they went up there fishing on their same boats, they brought food with them from down in this area. They brought a lot of food with them, and they did that for a few years. And so because they helped out that village, that they then gave them a song because they did not have anything else to give them. They felt a value, so they gave them this song for them to use, and so it's called Jewe-Ah. So you'll notice that it sounds like an Aleut song, for it is an Aleut song, but it was given to the Wushkitan to use for them, helping them with the food all these years. Well, I have to tell you a funny story about that. Now, my Grandpa Gilbert, who was a Wushkitan as well, Gilbert Mills, now, he did a joke on my great-grandfather. Since they had been going there for a few years now, there was a little boy around the same time as when they first started going there. So he paid that little boy, and he said, hey you, I'll give you some money if you go over there and say, hey, Papa. So that little boy went over by my great-grandfather, and he tugs on his arm. You know, my great-grandpa looks down at him, he's like, what do you want? He's like, hi, Papa. He's like, oh, hey, get out of here. Oh, no. It wasn't really his son, but that was a joke that my Grandpa Gilbert played on him, was that he had a son from there. So I just thought I'd share that little bit. I thought it was really funny. bit different than what we do. Let's see. There's still some time. All right. So I will do another song, and this one is called Dao Yat. Now this one is more of a man song, so they would be the ones dancing around with the shakyat, shaking their head really hard, and so this one belongs to the Kagwantan. So they drum the drum beat really fast in the beginning, and when they do that, that tells the men, and they would spin in circles until they hear that one, boof, and then they would all start doing it. So it's really powerful when you see them all spinning and then all hit the same note. It's really powerful when you can see them dancing like that. It's quite an honor, especially when you see our little ones. We have my little cousin, is James III, and he just recently got a Tlingit name, and it means grandfather of the Kiksadi, so he is the grandfather of the frog people, and he's just, you know, little, maybe 3, and he's like, oh, I'm already someone's grandpa. So that was really cute to hear. He loves singing and dancing, and it's very powerful to see our young children breathing life back into our culture, for they're taking it and they're running for it with it. And so I like to say that we do not inherit this land from our ancestors. We only borrow it from our children and from our grandchildren. And I wish more people would think about that, because what are we going to leave them behind, if anything? So I will sing, actually let me tell you the story really quick. So we were always the stewards of this land, and we always took care of it. Now each family had a river that they would take care of. Now they would never let more than one family of ducks stay there, and this is because the ducks eat the baby salmon, the little fry. They would never let a beaver dam up that river. And then every so many years, maybe 3 to 4 years, they would put a fish trap at the bottom, and they would space it a thumb width apart. And the reason why they do this is that way the baby trout can swim through, but the big trout are being caught. For the big trout are the egg eaters as well. So there has to be balance within everything. And sometimes we feel like we have to take people out of nature for it to do well. For if we listen to the indigenous people, they have been one and a part of this land this whole time, that sometimes we have to think of the way that we are on this land, for we are all brothers and sisters, not just with the two-legged, the four-legged, the winged, those with scales. We're all brothers and sisters, and our mother is Earth, and we need to take care of her. Even though we are in different places, she is still our mother, for she is massive. She holds all of us, and we just need to remember and take care of her. And there was a time when they were telling us that we could not take care of our rivers. The Fish and Game was coming through and saying you couldn't live here anymore, you couldn't take care of this river. So my grandfather's, his father, so they were fishing on a river one time, and then they found 2 bears that their mother had passed away, so they had no way of making it. So he took in those 2 bears. Now they're very aggressive because they're wild bears. So for a couple of days he had them in a gunny sack, and he would touch them, and if they went he would leave them alone, and he would feed them water and stuff. And then by the 3rd day, when he did finally touch them, they didn't make any noises, so he knew that they were starting to come around. And he raised these 2 bears till they were huge. I mean, they were big because he was feeding them and helping them, but they would also help him too, for they would get the salmon and they'd throw it onto the beach to him. They would throw them all up there, and he'd be just cleaning those fish away, just happier than a clam, and then they would throw more, and then that would be some of the bears' catch. Now there was one day that there was 2 Fish and Game that were coming up the river to where they were fishing, and the bears had already gone back in, so they didn't see them at all. Now, he did not speak English, and so when the Fish and Game was coming up, my great-grandfather had to translate for his father, and he was asking, what are they saying, what are they saying? And he's translating for them, and then get that they're telling us that we cannot fish anymore, that this is not our river, that we have to leave here. And so he was like, really? This is your river? Okay, and he's like, why don't you tell them we will go get the boys if they want to keep this up. And so they kept going, kept trying to tell him to leave. And so his father finally told him to go get the boys. And the Fish and Game was asking him, what are you doing? Where are you going? He's like, don't worry, my father told me to go get the boys. And they didn't know who the boys were. And so then my great-grandfather comes back, and he's standing next to his dad. And then the Fish and Game, they're being a little smart. They're like, oh, so where are these boys that you're talking about? And so all his father did is he said, because he doesn't speak English, so all he said was to look up. And they're like, what is he doing? What is he doing? And my great-grandfather translated for them. He's saying, he's telling you to look up. And they're like, what do you mean? And sure enough, they look behind him, and they look up. There are the boys. They turned around and ran so fast. And then his father was laughing so hard, and he couldn't understand why he was just laughing. He wouldn't stop laughing. So finally asked him, why are you laughing so hard? He's like, oh, I thought only Jesus Christ could walk on water. Those guys ran so fast that it looked like they were walking on top of the water. So that's why he was laughing so hard. He's like, oh, I thought only Jesus could run on water. And so, you know, we still are fighting for our rights to hunt and gather in different areas, for we are the stewards of this land and we take care of it. We never take any more than we need for our families, for we are always thinking about our next generations. What are we going to leave them? Because if you wipe out an area, then you yourself will not have food to go back to. And so this is why we are a part of this land and so connected, for we take care of it and it takes care of us. And so this is why we have that deep connection, is we are always out hunting and fishing and trapping and in nature, that it heals you. They've done studies where if you are sick in the hospital and you have no window, you're going to take a lot longer to heal. Now they've done people where they're in rooms with a window, just looking at a tree. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. They're just looking at a tree, and it shows that they will heal much faster than the one that does not have nature to look at. So nature is our medicine as well, and this is why us in the city seek it out. This is why we want to go hiking. This is why we want to go camping and doing all these things, because it is our medicine and it does recharge us. And so we just have to put a challenge out there to everyone to make a difference, even if it's in a small way. It may seem overwhelming about change. Change is hard. For water bottle companies, they don't make water. They make plastic. So we need to get away from the ideas of the single-use stuff. And we just need to remember that it may be difficult and it may be hard and it may seem impossible for just one of us to do something. But remember how a glacier starts. A glacier starts with one snowflake. And so be that one snowflake to then build that big glacier. But remember, one step at a time, for it is overwhelming. And I do realize this, for I am trying to make changes in my own life, and it's pretty hard at first. You're like, oh my god, it's so easy to just grab the single-use thing, or to, just be not so mindful of how we are using our resources as well. And this is why, when they first were coming up to Alaska, we had the biggest, well, I shouldn't say the biggest, because we had the redwoods, but we had some of the biggest timber in this area. We had some of the biggest fish stocks they have ever seen in the world, and this is because that Tlingit took care of the land, and the land took care of us. We also have to remember that we are connected by water. We are all connected by water, for we are on water right now, whether it is salt water, the freshwater river, or the water that you drink. We are all connected by water. So we also have to protect our ocean as well and our other waterways, for this affects us in many different ways, and we just need to help Mother Nature. Sometimes Mother Nature needs help, and right now she does, and she is crying out to us. And so we just have to remember that we can make a difference. For there was the Dalai Lama said that if you feel like you cannot make a difference, think of how when you sleep with a mosquito. It may be small, but boy, does it bug you all night long. So just remember, any little bit helps. Even if it's just one small thing. It may not seem like something big. I would rather have people imperfectly doing something than a whole bunch of people doing it perfectly. For we will never do it perfectly. So we can try and do it imperfectly. And so with that, I will sing an exit song for you guys. And if you guys have any more questions, there's a little bit more time for questions, for we are almost to Bartlett Cove. Now, there is the healing totem pole there, so if anybody would like to hear the story of the healing totem pole, I will offer doing a quick talk about that when we get to Bartlett Cove. So if you guys would like to do that, that is something you can do. And so, yeah, I will now sing an exit song for you guys. And thank you all for listening, honorable guests. And I really do have to thank you, for without you guys coming up in here to Glacier Bay, I don't get to come to my ancestral homeland. For I don't have a boat, I cannot come up here on my own. That I really want to say thank you for you guys, and then thank you to the crew of the boat, for they have given us amazing journey so far through Glacier Bay. And it really takes everyone of Wushji'in pulling together, for if there was just one person on the side of the canoe paddling, we're going to go in circles. So Wushji'in, we need to pull together for us to go forward. Kanakchish.